What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing, back at you again. Today's topic: if Errol Spence beats Ugas, he will claim 3-belt undisputed and continue to duck Terence Crawford. Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life before riches, huh? That life before riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glizzy, run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Okay, boxing fans, let's talk some boxing. We're gonna chop it up today. All right, so what's going on in boxing right now? What's the latest news? As you all know, not too long ago, last week sometime, or almost 2 weeks now, Blair the Flair Cobb, he came out and called Errol Spence a coward, said that Errol Spence was afraid of Terence Crawford and that Errol Spence was cursed and that he was a coward. Basically, that's what he said, and he came out and said it loud and clear. Now a lot of people have been more or less leaning towards something, like that about Errol Spence, based on all the ducking that he's been doing, all of the avoiding he's been doing of Terence Crawford, to the point where Errol Spence hasn't been able to even mention Terence Crawford's name. It's so bad. Okay, so basically, everybody's looking for that fight to happen between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, but as we all know, and as we all been privy to these past couple of months, past year, past 2, 3, 4, 5 years now, Errol Spence has been doing his utmost to avoid the fight, which is kind of strange, seeing in that that's his biggest fight in his career, if he was to take that fight with Terence Crawford, and also the most money he would make in his career. So a lot of people wondering why is it that Errol Spence is has been avoiding this fight for so long. And Blair Cobb basically highlighted the reason why. He said that Errol Spence is afraid. Simple as that. He said that Errol Spence is afraid of Terence Crawford and that Errol Spence is a coward. Now, when you look at this fight and then you listen to what Blair Cobb is saying, it's kind of hard not to arrive at the same conclusion. That's Errol Spence is afraid, because you can't really come up with any other reason why this fight has not happened yet, except for that reason. That's the only reason, because it's been Errol Spence that's been basically blocking the fight, more or less. Him and his team, or him and PBC. They've been doing everything in their power to avoid this fight. So my point, the reason I'm making this video right now is to warn the boxing fans out there, because a lot of boxing fans are looking forward. Some of Errol Spence's boxing fans as well. Not all of Errol Spence's boxing fans, are looking for Errol Spence to avoid this fight. A lot of his fans, they don't want him to fight Crawford because they don't think he can beat Crawford. But, he has some real boxing fans, those who want to see him fight the best. So they want him to fight Crawford, So the thing I want to make a point here is that, and it says that in the title, it's in my title, as you can see. And the point I'm trying to make is that if Errol Spence defeats Ugas, he will claim 3-belt undisputed, and he will continue to duck Terence Crawford. That the ducking will continue. He will fight somebody else next. He's not going to fight. We all know he's not going to fight Terence Crawford next. He's been prepping Keith Thurman. PBC has been prepping Keith Thurman to fight him after the Ugas fight. Now, the only reason why we even see him mentioning Crawford, well, he didn't even actually mention Crawford's name in his last interview. I saw him in an interview with Fight Hype, and he was talking about the fight. They asked him about the fight, about legacy, about this and about that, and he basically said that he doesn't really see that his legacy to fight for Undisputed. He doesn't really see that as something that he needs to do, basically. You know, he think that he can do without, you know, and he mentioned a couple of other fighters that was not undisputed, like Mayweather and, you know, a couple of other guys that were great fighters but didn't achieve undisputed. So basically what he's saying is that is Errol Spence, that he can become a great fighter without becoming undisputed. In other words, he does not want to fight Terence Crawford. Now, for a lot of people, you know, when they heard that, they thought, you know, a lot of people said, wow, you know, wow, I didn't know, you know, he doesn't really want to become undisputed, you know, but this is not the first time he has said that. Well, let me take that back. It's not the first time that sentiment has come from his camp. In other words, people in his camp have said the same thing, and I'm talking about his trainer, Derek James. Derek James said it's the same thing. So again, my point is that they're gonna go for the 3-belt undisputed. Once they win that belt from Ugas, they're gonna consider themselves as being undisputed, okay? And then they're not gonna go after Terence Crawford's belt. They're not gonna go after the 4th belt. They're gonna see themselves as undisputed, being a 3-belt undisputed, and they're gonna call it that. That's it. He's not gonna go after Terence Crawford for the next belt, and he's signaling that. And just in case you don't believe me, here is what Derek James had to say. So let's hear what Derek James had to say about this situation. Let's check it out.
Doesn't fight anyone. Should Earl give him a shot?
Check this out. Listen to it.
Who? What now?
He says if Crawford doesn't fight anyone, should Earl give him a shot?
Shot or what? I mean, he still got other guys he gonna fight or whatever. I mean, his fight schedule may be planned out. You know what I'm saying? Like after this one, we got another big one. We want to get the 3 belts, whatever the case may be. But hey, listen, man, I think that.
Okay, so you heard that? He said we want to get the 3 belts. Okay, let's run it by one more time.
Doesn't fight anyone. Should Earl give him a shot?
Who? What now?
He says if Crawford doesn't fight anyone, should Earl give him a shot?
Shot or what? I mean, he still got other guys he gonna fight or whatever. I mean, his fight schedule may be planned out. You know what I'm saying? Like after this one, we got another big one. We want to get the 3 belts, whatever the case may be. But hey, listen, man, I think that fight will possibly happen. But I think that if you think about it like this, Errol can fight Keith Thurman, Sean Porter. He can fight Pacquiao. He can fight Danny Garcia. He can fight Ugas. He can fight all these guys. So his legacy has nothing to do with fighting Terence Crawford.
Okay, so there you go. Now that was over a year ago that Derek James said that, and as you have, you know, that's more than a year ago, probably 18 months now. And as you can see, since that time until now, it's been the same thing playing out: avoiding Terence Crawford, ducking Terence Crawford. So from way back 18 months ago, when Derek James said that, this is before he even fought Danny Garcia, before he fought, you know, any of those guys. We see that the plan was already in effect. Okay, it was always ducking Terence Crawford. There was never any idea to fight Terence Crawford. It's always been ducking Terence Crawford. So you fast forward to now, and you see when you ask Errol Spence about Terence Crawford, he always says, you know, we'll see, maybe, this, that, and the other, because there was never any plans to fight Terence Crawford. So the only reason that, you know, he's even mentioning Terence Crawford, and he doesn't even mention Terence Crawford's name, like I said, because it's the people that's interviewing him have to ask him about Terence Crawford before he's even saying anything about Terence Crawford. And even when they ask him, he don't even want to talk about Crawford. But the bottom line is that's the only time he mentions Crawford, when people ask him about it. They have to ask him, like, you know, what about Terence Crawford? And then he goes, maybe, we'll see, you know, we'll see. So this is the plan. So there was never any plan to fight Crawford, like I said. The whole plan from day one was to get the 3 belts and duck Crawford. And we see the whole thing play out, okay? It's been played out, you know, right in front of our eyes. And so, you know, now you saw it for yourself. I show you the receipt, okay? You know, now what about this?
Got the money for minutes, petty bitch, got
you've been highly critical of Errol Spence Jr. Where does that criticism come from?
The fact that he's afraid. He's afraid, yet he has all the belts. He's afraid of Terence Crawford. He's afraid of Terence Crawford.
There it is. So that's the general sentiment in the boxing community. And it's not just, Blair the Flair who feels that way. A lot of people feel that way in boxing. It's not just, I'm talking about professional boxers, I've called out Errol Spence on his ducking of Terence Crawford, you got Roy Jones, you got my man over there from Golden Boy, Bernard Taylor. You got I mean, there's been a lot of, even Eddie Hearn, a promoter, has been, saying that Errol Spence is afraid of Terence Crawford. So it's common knowledge now. Everybody knows it. The only people that don't really want to acknowledge the fact, is like, a few of Errol Spence's man fans. But even most of his fans already know what time it is, that this guy's been ducking Errol Spence. I mean, he's been ducking Terence Crawford, and he continued to duck Terence Crawford, and he's going to continue to duck. So I'm just, giving everybody a heads up, okay? Errol Spence is going to claim that if he beats Ugas, which I hope he doesn't, because, again, I hope that Ugas wins this fight. And the reason I hope that Ugas wins this fight is because Errol Spence, is holding up the welterweight division, and we need to have him out of the way so he can, hold up the division anymore, because there's fights that should be happening that's not happening because Errol Spence, is afraid, to go out there and do what he's supposed to do. Okay, we could have had Undisputed by now, more than likely, if it wasn't for Errol Spence. So that's the reason why I want him out of the way, because he's holding up the division. Okay, plain and simple. If Ugas win, Ugas is already committed to fighting Crawford. He said he was going to fight Crawford. He committed to that fight if he beats Errol Spence. And, that's more than Errol Spence has done. Errol Spence has not committed to fighting Crawford. He's been saying, we'll see, maybe, we'll see how it plays out. Just a bunch of maybes and ifs and buts, okay? And so basically, that fight is not going to happen as long as Errol Spence is the champion. So hopefully, Ugas could come out on top, and then we'll be able to see Undisputed, fairly soon. Now, back to Blair the Flair, the Cobb. Okay, now, I see a lot of people getting on Blair the Flair, shout out to Blair the Flair Cobb, at least he got the guts to tell the truth, what nobody else wanted to do. Okay, now he might have lost, a lot of people are like, getting on his case, Errol Spence and, Blue Blood and all these people, they're jumping on him because he lost his fight. But I just want to say this about, Blair the Flair. He spoke the truth, and what he said was truthful, so he wasn't lying. Okay. Number one, he at least he fought. He didn't duck. He didn't run. Okay, he didn't avoid his fight. He fought the guy he was supposed to fight. Okay, a tough fight. He jumped in there, stepped in there, and took the fight. Okay, it was a tough fight for him, but he took it anyway, which showed he has balls. So he's not a coward, and he's not a duck. Okay, so you lose. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. If you're gonna fight the best, then sometimes you might lose. That's just the way boxing goes. So at least he had the balls to fight the best and not duck them. Like some people that we know, Errol Spence being one of the main ones. Okay. He didn't duck like Spence. He actually met and fought the guy, and he lost. So he lost. But just because he lost doesn't, make what he said wrong. Okay, a lot of people, are clowning him because he lost the fight. But a lot of people lose. Deontay Wilder just lost in brutal fashion. At least Blair Cobb stayed on his feet, even though he got stopped. But and he fought to the end, and he went out fighting. So you can't ask for no more than that from a guy. Okay, he went out fighting. He fought like a man, and he took his punishment like a man. Okay, he took his loss like a man. Okay, plain and simple. So you're gonna win some, or you're gonna lose some. If you're gonna fight. If you're gonna duck, and you're gonna be a coward, then you probably will never lose, and you'd always be able to avoid certain fights if you want to. And that's the kind of career you want. And some people want that type of career where they just keep ducking and ducking and ducking the best fights, and just fight fight the fights that they think they can win, which is what, we're seeing going on for the most part with a lot of these guys. So I just got to say, shout out to Blair the Flair. You said what had to be said. You fought, you lost, but hey, better luck next time. As far as I can see from Blair the Flair, to me, he was doing pretty good. But the only problem, it looks to me like he wasn't in condition for this fight. He should have been in better condition. And that I think that if he was in a better condition, he would have had because he hurt that guy a couple of times. I mean, in that fight, but he couldn't put him away. Again, I think his conditioning needs to be, he needs to improve on his condition. I think if his condition was better, he probably would have won that fight. But he lost, so it is what it is. But yeah, shout out to Blair the Flair for telling the truth that nobody want to hear, but the facts are the facts. So yeah, I'm not gonna make this a long video. I just wanted to bring that up about Errol Spence is gonna claim 3-belt undisputed, and he's gonna keep ducking Terence Crawford like he's been doing for the last 5 years. So I hope people out there don't really expect anything different, because you're not gonna get anything different. That's exactly what it's gonna be. So that being said, the ducking will continue. Errol Spence will continue to duck, and it is what it is. So with that being said, people, I'm going to leave it there. This is TBE Boxing saying, that's all I have for right now. I'm out.
You've been highly critical of Errol Spence Jr. Where does that criticism come from?
The fact that he's afraid. He's afraid, yet he has all the belts. He's afraid of Terence Crawford. He's afraid of Terence Crawford.
Got them out of a minute, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life before riches, huh? That life before riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glazzy run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.